to Texas!
He's a 10. I choose this family.
Hi guys, welcome to episode 15 of 911LoneStar Roundup. I'm one of your hosts, Katie, and with me are my lovely co-hosts, Grace.
Hey guys.
And EJ.
Hey everyone.
Today we'll be talking about season 2, episode 4 of Lone Star, titled Friends with Benefits, or as I like to call it, the Tarlo Special.
Yes, that's a good title. Good subtitle, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Like, that's all that matters in the episode. That's it. We're done.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Tarlos.
This isn't the Lone Star podcast. This is the Tarlos podcast. Let's be honest.
Honestly, that needs to be like on a shirt, like. Okay. Anyways, just a reminder, we won't be recapping the episodes. We will just more so be talking about them and like what stood out and that stuff. So let's get talking. Yeah.
Game night.
Yeah, game night.
I loved this.
Yeah, it was so funny, and I liked this as the start of the episode, and like.
Yeah, and I love that they were playing Heads Up, because that's a game on your phone. It's like charades, but it's it's an app on your phone. I'm like, yeah, we've done that a lot at church, and it's hilarious when we start doing it.
I've never played it, but I've always thought it looked like such fun.
Yeah, it is.
It is.
Wow, I loved how like competitive Grace and Judd were.
Oh yeah.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Like, damn.
Yeah.
But I also loved like it was a triple date night as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yes.
loved that.
And the only thing I think that personally would have made it better would have been having the only other couple there would have been TK and Carlos.
Yeah.
But I feel like they would have been just as competitive, if not more.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I want to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If they were there, I feel like it would have been like, it would have been like, I don't know how to, like, it would have been like, oh, hey, mom and dad, we're crashing your day.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, basically. I think that could have, like, been a little weird, but that would have been funny.
Yes.
Oh, man. Now I just want to see them. Like, I want to see, like, the crew doing a heads up night or some other sort of thing, and I want to see Carlos competitive.
Yeah.
I think the only thing that made it at all awkward was, like, Owen's putting his foot in his mouth continually.
Yeah.
And, like, I felt sorry for Gwen during that.
Yeah.
I'm just like, just shut up, Owen, please.
Yeah.
Right. Well, didn't he? And he said something like, "Man," he's like, "I think divorce has been better than couples counseling or something."
Yes.
Dude.
Which that was in the promos, and the moment I heard that, like, and this, I think they were in the promos before the season even aired.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, oh, this is going to be good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, also, like, when we originally saw that scene, we didn't even see the scene. We saw literally the line. We didn't know that other people would be there when he's saying this. We thought it would just be him and Gwen. So the fact that you said that in front of two other couples was just a little bit like awkward.
And they're all just kind of like, okay, moving on.
Yeah, and like they're just like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm pretty sure Grace is like, I'm not following. And he's like, you think you know each other, and you say I do. No, you more so know each other when you're like getting your life savings and fighting over that. And I'm just like, oh my god.
And he's talking to like two happily married couples,
right?
So I'm just like, Owen,
what are you doing?
Then again, it would have been even worse if he was talking in front of two unhappily married couples.
Oh yeah, like
yeah.
Don't remind
so
us.
maybe Owen just
probably a good idea.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, and then we get the roller derby. Marshawn's like, oh, I'm like, Marshawn, I love this.
I love that because I saw the episode after Natasha released like her story about like I had not known she had physical issues when she was a child.
Yeah, really.
So like
bad.
learning that, I watched the episode and like I watched that scene with such different eyes than I would have if I had watched it before knowing that story. And I'm just like, you go girl.
Yeah.
Yes. She's awesome. Yeah, I knew of her story before, but yeah, all the things that she does now, it's like super awesome, and she's super inspiring.
Yeah, definitely.
Love her.
And like, I have to hand it off to Grace because she literally called this, like, even before the season, from what I remember, aired, and I was just like, no. But yeah.
Yes, I called this.
Yeah. So
I think it was like when we got the original like bleachers scene, and I think when we first learned about like the roller derbying, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's that.
Yeah.
I think I had thought that it was like boxing because we saw her with the boxing gloves.
Same.
I thought she might have been practicing.
Yeah, same.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I love Paul, Mateo, TK, and Carlos in the stands.
Yes.
And like, Mateo's like, that's my girl. And I'm like, oh, that's adorable. Like,
oh, yeah.
Sweet. Did anyone else notice? Because in this part is where we first see Salim.
Cringy.
Did anyone else notice that Mateo was hearing Salim calling and he tried to up himself up? Like, it became a competition.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, Salim was like totally didn't even hear them, but
And Mateo's like, oh, yeah.
Yeah, Mateo had kind of zeroed in on that, and I think even Paul caught on too.
Yeah, Paul was like, well, I guess he's like a creepy stalker or something like that. Or
I love how Paul was struggling with his thing the entire episode.
Yeah. And like, he was so cringy. Salim, I'm just like, dude, what? Like, when I rewatch it, I have to skip past that part. I'm not gonna lie, because it gives me secondhand embarrassment.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Like, I can't.
Like, okay, that's kind of sweet. Everyone's cheering her on so much, but like, for some reason, that little blip, even first watching it before I knew exactly what was happening, and of course I got spoilers, so I kind of knew what was happening, but even before that, I'm like, that's a little cringy.
Yeah. And I loved in there when I think it was Paul and then Carlos were like yelling for the ref, like, where's the ref?
Oh yeah.
Wow, like they were really getting into it.
Yeah, I love that though. Like,
yeah, it was awesome.
Oh my gosh, that's one of my favorite cruise scenes, I think, just because it's them.
Yeah.
Just being
them.
Yeah,
I had to agree. Like, I love this scene with them and stuff.
And then the bar
scene. Oh, I loved it. We didn't really get too much more than we originally got, but I loved it so much. Like, I love the way TK just walked up and like was like, "Hello," like the way he said, I can't even like reenact it because like it was just so perfect. And like, there's just so many TK lines in this episode where it's just like, oh damn.
Love it.
I think my favorite part was like after the guys getting them the drinks and TK's like, well, that was aggressive, and Carlos is just like, I think it's the atmosphere, but I do like people to know your mind, and TK's like, wow, I think we should come here more often. Carlos is like, maybe we should, and I'm like,
and this is where I start going, do you have an exhibitionist kink?
Yeah. Oh my god. I just love that part so much. Yeah. Oh, and like also when Carlos is like, and his boyfriend's a cop, and the bartender just has like an awkward pause, and he's like, cool.
Like, cool.
Like, yes, Carlos.
And I had a moment of going, you crushed his poor dream.
Yes, Carlos, crushed that man's dreams. Claim yours.
Yes.
And TK's expression just is like, oh boy.
Yeah, TK's just like, oh god, what is going on? Like, oh, okay.
But I think he kind of enjoys it at the same time.
Secretly.
Oh yeah, you know he does.
Mm-hmm. Secretly.
He's still gonna give his boyfriend a hard time.
Yeah.
Oh, of course. And I think the best part was that TK wasn't bothered about that. He was just kind of like, well, that was aggressive.
Yeah.
Because sometimes like a tiny bit of possessiveness or protectiveness or stuff can really get people going.
Yeah.
And so it's like, yeah, you took it in the way it was meant.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Good.
Yeah. And then we have Paul and Mateo waiting for Marshawn. And like, then you see the guy waiting, and Paul's just like, well, I guess we're not the only ones waiting.
Yeah.
And they're both like stalkers.
Yeah. And like,
Which it does look like that, let's be honest.
Yeah, and, like, they're basically, like, being protected brothers, and I love that. Like, so much.
Oh, yeah, me too.
We already saw this scene, like, the day of the episode, which I, like, liked. I don't mind if they release it, like, the day of, because, like, it kind of gets you excited for the episode and stuff, and I don't know, I like that. But, like, so we saw, like, most of this scene. Actually, I think we saw this whole scene, now that I remember correctly.
And they go up and they're like, hey, is everything okay? And I'm just like, protected?
Yes. And, like, Mateo's just like, oh, so you know this guy, and Salim's just like, only our whole lives. And, like, Mateo's like, you're Marshawn's brother or something, and I'm like, of course she would go there. He's like,
he's a little oblivious, darling.
And she's like, Salim's my fiance, and I'm just like, what now?
Their faces.
I know,
they literally had the what now?
Hilarious.
And yeah, and then of course, like, Carlos walks up, and TK's just like, "Hi guys, how's it going?" That was so cute.
Oh my gosh,
kill me!
yes.
I'm like melting inside from just that like line.
Yeah,
it was so cute.
And Paul's just like, Marshawn got engaged, and TK's like, what?
He's like,
no
way.
way.
As far as they know, like, she's never been with somebody.
Right.
No way. I love that too.
And then I loved Carlos's congratulations, and it was like a question mark.
I don't know if I'm supposed to be happy.
He's so confused too, I think.
Yeah, like, am I supposed to be happy?
Especially since he doesn't even work with them. Like, he knows them, but he doesn't even work with them, so he's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
He's like, you've been to my house. How did I not know?
Yeah. Like, that was just like, so weird. But
and then TK being like, when did this happen? And then Marshawn was like, when we were 12.
Faces.
And honestly, I think a lot of people took that really wrong. But I'm just kind of like, oh, tell me more.
Yeah, when she said when we were 12, it was okay. So they're going the arranged marriage way. Like, it was kind of like obvious to me, but like also like like their faces when she said that, like they all looked at each other like, oh, what?
Right.
And they all looked at Paul like he could do his thing and tell them magically what was happening.
Yeah. Well, and it was funny because, like, Mateo looked at Paul, Paul turned and looked, and then TK and Carlos at the same time turned and looked towards Paul and Mateo, and it was like they were all shocked. I don't know, like, arranged marriages happen so differently depending on the cultures and the families. I know we've talked in the past that, you know, people of Muslim cultures often don't marry outside of their culture. So if they're in Miami and it's a small community of Muslim and their friends, the families may suggest they get married when they're younger, and that's the plan. You know, it's not necessarily like you have to marry them.
I don't know. Like, I don't really care for this storyline and stuff. Like, I was like, okay, this is where we're going. And I know a lot of people, I saw like a lot of people say that they didn't like it because culturally today it's not really as common, and it's like they just didn't really like it, and I kind of agree.
Honestly, I wouldn't call it, I wouldn't really put a label on what I feel about it because I know very little of that culture, and I can't make the call on whether or not that's a good thing, a bad thing, something somebody should be angry about, because I'm not Muslim, I'm not Middle Eastern, I'm not any of that. So I'm just kind of like, okay, let's see how this rolls out, but that was not what I was expecting.
I wasn't expecting it, but like, I was like, oh, okay, like, I don't know, I'm just not really like here for this, just because I
had a feeling like the entire time, okay, this is gonna end bad.
Yeah.
Well, and I don't know. I wasn't thrilled with this because Marshawn is just a very like independent, confident woman. It was really hard for me to wrap my head around the fact that she'd be willing to let an arranged marriage happen. You know, like it.
But she's also very wrapped up in her religion and her culture and everything. So I'm like, I imagine that presented a bit of a war there within her. Yeah. Because we know that girl, she is fire, she's independent. Yeah.
Right.
Okay, let's see. I have to say, when we first saw the promo for that scene, I got the, I didn't actually think arranged marriage. I went like childhood sweethearts or something. Like they made some foolish promise when they were kids and they like built on that later. That was kind of what I was thinking. So arranged marriage, that did take me by surprise.
Yeah. And then like, of course, like right from like that, you have to go to an actual wedding. This scene was this like whole wedding was a mess. The best man's basically giving like his speech, and then like you can tell that something is about to go down, and then he like vomits on the bride. I was like, ooh. And then like everyone else, like, oh pretty much all the guests start vomiting and stuff. And so then like the tent they're in like basically like comes down on top of the groom. And
what was it, 900 pounds of... I'm just like...
all the steel framing.
You better hope. Do you want to be able to walk again? I'm not sure you'll be able to walk again. That was kind of what I was thinking, because I'm like, that's not insignificant at all.
So basically they like get there and like they're like food poisoning, and Tommy's just like not...
Oh, they were like salmonella.
Yes, that's what it was. Salmonella. Anyways, and like they're like, nope, not properly chilled fish, and I'm just like, ew.
Yeah, gross.
And
that is the drawback to weddings when you're destination weddings or in a place like that, because
outdoors,
your caterers don't always have everything prepared for that kind of stuff. Most of them should,
but they don't.
I don't want to eat fish ever again. I don't even like fish that much, so
I'm very picky about what fish I like. So I wouldn't have it at my wedding. So I'm just like,
same.
Let's just take a steak, okay?
Yep. That you throw it on some coals for 2 minutes. I like rare.
So this part of the whole thing was a real kicker.
Oh my gosh.
She's basically standing next to her husband, and she throws up, and so they're like thinking she has a concussion, and they're like,
or that she also had the food, but apparently she's vegan.
And then Mateo, love you,
love you, Mateo.
Yeah, he's like, well, maybe you're pregnant, and he's like, my cousin Sophia vomited at her wedding, blah 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 blah. And I'm just like, of course, like I loved that. Like, I loved that he was the one to be like, hey.
And then the groom was like, oh no, we're waiting until marriage. And I'm just like,
oh no.
But I immediately...
That was awkward.
So awkward.
From the best man speech, I knew that he like had a thing for the bride.
Same here.
And so I think it was meant to convey that. And so immediately I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, same. Like, it makes a lot of sense.
No wonder he has a thing for the bride.
I thought he was just like in love with her. Like, I didn't expect this twist. And I was just like, well, okay, that happened.
Like, that's hardly a surprise, because that does happen probably way too often, but also at the same time it's like, ouch.
I hear too many times, you always hear that, like, so...
like, what is it about the best man?
Yeah.
Like, what is it?
Yeah, you hear too many...
Do you just like the second in command? I mean...
Yeah. No, you always hear it too many times where, like, either the bride and the groom are saving themselves for marriage, and then, like, she apparently, like, the last night, or one of the few last nights before they get married, apparently just hooks up with the whoever, or like it's just weird.
Last night of freedom, chills, and all that stuff. It's like, ugh.
I'm just like, okay,
yeah.
And then like in between this and stuff, Marshawn, Paul, and Mateo are talking about Marshawn's secret marriage or whatever.
And I actually loved that Marshawn got to explain this. Because I'm like, yes. And this entire scene I really liked.
Yeah. So, like, the best part of this whole thing, like, she's explaining and being like, you don't realize how many of, like, marriages are actually arranged. And she's like, we have similar values, we're a good match. And I'm like, yeah, okay. And then, like, my favorite part of this whole part was when she was like, we were babies together, and Mateo's like, that almost makes it weirder. And I'm like, yes.
And I'm like, yeah. And then, like, she was talking about, like, them, like, growing into love and stuff. And I kind of wanted to hug Mateo at this, because he just kind of went, okay, that's kind of sweet. And I'm like, yes, it is, actually.
Yeah, it is. And, I mean, I can understand it, because, you know, I mean, even in the Christian Bible, there's a statement about not yoking yourself with someone who doesn't have the same values as you.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. Like, you don't, I mean, but then again, there's many relationships that you do and work out. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I struggle with the whole, like, making a decision when you're, like, 12. You know?
I
Because I'm
struggle
like,
with the whole people making a decision for you.
Yes.
That's
that too.
what, like, because then you have the added obligation to your family, but you already have some of that when you are, like, with a person. And it's just like,
and like, no, my parents had like hinted at, oh, you should date this person that you grew up with. I'm like, Mom, we probably spoke 5 words my whole life. Like, no, that's not happening. I don't care like who they are or what they do. No.
Any of the people I grew up with, which like came if we're talking like before 10, that came from like one church, they're either a mess or I would murder them. Let's just put it that way.
Or like for me, like if we grew up together, like I more so see you as a brother and not like I could never like imagine anything else. So no thanks.
Yeah. Exactly. My best guy friend, I've known him since I was like 13, and we are like brother and sister. So I just, even today, I'm like, I could never imagine myself married to him because him and I are so close as like brother and sister.
Yeah, that's how it is. Like a lot of, especially like this isn't the same person, but one of my friends, like I haven't seen him in years, but like he always treats me like a little sister, even though we're literally less than a month apart. So that would just be too weird for me. I don't get that. Yeah. And then they get back to like the house and
oh my gosh, this scene kind of made me cringe. Honestly, almost all the Owen and Gwen scenes made me cringe in this episode.
Like Gwen's like, I'm just this is funny though because for a lot of different reasons, but Gwen's like eating a ho-ho and I'm like, I've never had one of those before.
I don't even know if I knew the name before now. Just like chocolate cake with vanilla frosting in the middle.
I would like that.
It's like, it's so processed and kind of like I've never had one, but I just know. And my friend was talking about this scene, and I was like, "Yeah, I've never had one of those." And she's like, "Wait, are you being serious?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I was like, "She's like, I knew your mom was like, you didn't have these things, but I didn't know that." And I'm like, I was like, "Yeah, that's not really the food we had in my house growing up."
Yeah, that's if we ever had anything like that, which I think we had some similar things because I looked it up. It was homemade.
Yeah,
it was
same. Yeah. My mom never bought stuff like that. Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure not here.
Yeah, and even Owen said, "Did you bring processed food into my firehouse?"
He was so
she's
offended.
Like, yeah, and she's like, "I found it or I sniffed it out in the cupboards or something like that." And he goes, and then he starts looking in the cupboards like, where?
Who do you want to bet brought
Mateo?
His son.
Mateo. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yes.
Go back to the cheese balls. Yeah, that would be Mateo.
Like,
yeah, like I feel like TK would know his dad too well to try and do something like that.
Well, TK would find like the vegan version or something.
Yeah.
Although we don't know if TK is vegan or not. I feel like, I want him to be because Roden is, and I feel like that would just make sense. And that'd be honestly, I don't know, I feel like, I don't know, it doesn't matter, but like, I just would like that.
I just think it would be a cool like tie to Roden himself.
Yeah.
So...
Well, Buck isn't, though.
Yeah,
because I was thinking Oliver is vegan, but Buck isn't. And I know that Oliver has said in the past that the people who create the food for like the family table, whatever they make that he's going to eat, even if it looks like a hamburger, it might be completely vegan. Or I mean, it is completely vegan because they don't necessarily want the character to be the same as Oliver. So maybe that's the same with TK.
Maybe. And like I'm trying to remember from the 4th episode of last season.
It was me.
Because they were sitting down to dinner and it was me. Yeah. I was just like, wait, did TK have some? I think he did.
So it's like probably a Beyond Meat burger or hot
like,
dog.
That's honestly nice though, because like who wants, like, obviously they, like, accommodate for people and not be like, well, you have to eat this, your character eats meat. Like, that's honestly, like, nice.
Yeah. And they wouldn't, like, try and put somebody in the hospital with, like, something that goes against their allergies or something.
And,
yeah.
And then within this scene, Gwen basically is, like, adamant that they, like, label the relationship, and I'm just like, and Owen's like,
honestly, I could feel for Owen in this part though, because he was just like, whoa, where's this coming from?
Right.
And like, I could see throughout the entire episode both of their sides.
I kind of see his side more just because, like, okay, you were divorced in the past for 10 years, and, like, yeah, like, you kind of, like, oh, yeah, 15, it was longer than that.
Yeah, 16, I think, is what they said.
Yeah, well, because they've been divorced since TK was 10, and he's 26, so, like, 15 in a ish years.
Like,
yeah. They could have just
honestly.
So,
but, like,
that's
I kind of, like, why would you want to put a label on the relationship right now? This has only been going on a few months. Like, most people...
Yeah, like, I can understand, like, she has something to run. Like, back home, she needs to know what she's staying for, that kind of thing. But I think with how the episode ended, and obviously we'll get to that, I actually did feel a little bit more for his side, because what was she making him think? Like, seriously.
And, like, he's kind of, like, I don't know, like, I think he's in a better place than he was, obviously, in their previous marriage. But, like, I don't think you should really be rushing into anything, like, especially with, like, a past divorce with...
I feel like he's a little gun-shy, so to speak.
I think...
Just like, let's
like,
not.
I don't blame him. Like, why would you want... Even if they were to just be, like, dating, like, I don't know. Like, I don't, like... And I also don't see, like, an end goal with them. Like, I don't see it lasting. Right. I don't necessarily want it to last. I didn't even want it to happen in the first place. I mean, I'm not hating it as much as I would imagine I would. But
I'm liking it more
but I'm
than
definitely not wanting it. It's not endgame. So.
Yeah.
Right. I don't know. Yeah, and it's not even like they have to, like, define their relationship for their child who's, like, 10 years old.
Yeah.
TK's an adult.
Yeah.
Like, he gets it. He sees his parents. You know, he's not a kid anymore. So it's not like they have to say, okay, we're dating and we're doing this so, you know, he doesn't get confused. They don't need to do that. Like, she doesn't need to push that. But then on the other hand, she's eating ho-hos. I'm like, by then, I knew what was going on. And I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. But I'm like, I'll let it see. I figured it out. I was like, yeah. Because she didn't seem like that was one. And, you know. Anyways.
I had it spoiled for me before I watched the episode. I didn't figure it out. But, like, this entire time I knew it was happening. I really wish I hadn't gotten it spoiled because I would like to know, like, my thought process during the entire episode.
Oh,
guys, watch the spoilers! Like, to all the listeners, watch the spoilers, guys. Though, then again, like, Ronan started spoiling after a couple of days, and I was like, oh, okay.
I mean, a couple hours,
I mean,
like, a day,
a couple days.
Yeah, I can understand, like, not saying anything, but after a couple of days, like, I feel like people are like, well, if you've seen it, you've seen it. So it's kind of hard after a couple of days not to say anything or to expect people not to say anything.
Yeah, like, I watched the episode on Thursday for the first time because I was so swamped with school I couldn't watch it until then. And I only took time to watch it because I wasn't feeling good. But so by that time, it was like just around the time where spoilers were being acceptable, but I had gotten them far before that. I'm just like, guys,
like,
seriously?
At least, like, my thing is with spoilers is, like, at least, like, for, like, when you're gonna say something, like, on Twitter, it's, like, literally so hard to, like, be like, well, don't read it because, like, Twitter's just a terrible place to be with spoilers, but, like, Instagram, literally just put a warning. That's, like, the easiest place, and that's, like, if I'm gonna talk about something, like, I literally put a spoiler warning. But, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so back to the episode. We can talk more about that.
Well, whatever. Marshawn, like, I'm pretty sure this is when, like, she was, like, getting ready for, like, bed or whatever. I don't know what to call it, but, like, they were, like, getting ready to wind down the night or whatever, and, she just, like, lays in bed, she's like, oh, and they're like, and Paul's like, Mara, is she okay? And, like, she's like, I just got a text from Celine, and she's like, he wants to, like, go to dinner or something, and, like,
we find out this
some
was
fancy restaurant
without chaperones.
Like,
so, like, that's a big thing.
He wanted to, like, end things and stuff.
Well, maybe not necessarily end things. She knew that he might want to advance things.
Like, she also, like, kind of, like, hinted that, like, maybe this is it. I don't know. But, like, I think my favorite part is like when Mateo is like all confused, and then Paul's just like, the man is here to claim his bride, Proby, and Mateo's just like, what? No, we had a deal. He's supposed to finish dental school first. I mean, do we even know what kind of grades he's getting?
Oh my God.
This is wrong.
I was like, Mateo?
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Yeah, I was like, Mateo, because obviously, you know, he like, how did he know he was in dental school? I mean, wow, they must have talked like outside of the conversation there.
In the scene where at the wedding scene.
Yeah, wait, it was in the wedding call. Yeah.
Okay, that's right. Yeah, she did mention the dental school.
And honestly, I was like, I did not picture that, but that actually makes a surprising amount of sense.
And he's just like, this is wrong. You can't move to Miami now. You said we will still have a few more years, and I'm like, I'm literally dead. Like, I love that line so much. And like,
yeah,
I love how he was like, freaking out so much. It was like, it's okay, Proby. Honestly, the first line, Paul's line, the man is here to claim his bride, it didn't sit well with me. Just the way it was worded. I don't think it was so much Paul as just like, the man's here to claim his bride. Like, that rubbed me
it's
wrong.
like the fact of it. Yeah. And like, I don't know.
Honestly, that sounds medieval.
Yeah, I think the guys were, and I think Paul said it that way because I think he was frustrated at the fact that she was being he felt like she was being forced into something.
Yeah.
And he didn't want her to be. And I think he was just kind of, I don't know.
He was looking out for her, I feel. Like, he has always, I mean, they both look out for her. But, like, I feel like Paul always, like, puts himself, like, out there in the sense where he's always, like, looking for her best or to make sure that she's okay, and I love that. And like,
I mean, I think the most like she and Paul look after Mateo. Mateo can like look after her, but I think Paul has more of the like protective brother role most of the time.
Yeah,
Mateo's the confused little brother.
Accurate.
Yep. Yeah. And she's like in the middle.
Yeah, she's just like, ugh. I was just like, okay, she didn't react wrong to it, so, like, I'm not really going to, but it did, like... But, like, thinking of it in terms, like, he was frustrated, I'm like, okay, I can get that, though.
Yeah. Next week, I think it leads into the dinner with Marshawn and Salim. And, like, Grace was like, I don't, like, I have a weird vibe about this dude. And I'm like, I'm gonna wait and see. And then, like, And I was like, this is a scene where I was like, I don't like him. Like, you can leave now. Like...
Yeah. Right. Well, especially he was like, I love you so much, and then the next second he's like, I met somebody else, and I'm like, oh, let me hurt you.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm like, just leave now. Well, and I think that was the fear all along. And, like, Paul was in a way kind of right. He was
having a thing. He was
giving her an ultimatum,
didn't like that.
Honestly.
Yes.
It's like, look, let's get together now and get married, or I've met someone and I'm going to go with them. And I was like, wow.
And I think Marshawn was so confused internally at that point that I don't think she could really see what he was doing. For one thing, that's super hurtful to find out the guy you're engaged to is thinking of going with somebody else or with somebody else, because later on we hear like break it off, and I'm like, oh, so it really was a thing.
Yeah, I just I'm not.
All right, so now the farmer's market. At this scene, I was just like, I was dreading it and loving it at the same time.
Oh, I know. This was an emotional one. It had the roller coaster going.
It didn't hit me right here. This was like, I liked the beginning part of this because it's just so domesticated. It's so cute. My favorite.
Oh my gosh.
My favorite part of this whole scene, my favorite lines were like, when TK was like, I would not be able to hold out that long, and I'm like, do tell. And Carlos was like, yes, I recall the 15 minutes after we met. So, are we insinuating that Carlos and TK hooked up in the bathroom of the bar they were at that night? Or, I also took it as like, or...
Carlos's car?
Or, that's, yeah. Or, I took it as like, TK was like very hesitant to date Carlos in the beginning. I also took it as that, but like, I don't know, like...
I'm totally betting they hooked up in the bathroom of the car. thing. Like,
well, yeah, when they were at Carlos's in episode 2, I don't really feel like
I don't
that
either.
was the first time.
I think when we saw it, we are made to think it's the first time.
Mm-hmm.
But like looking back, it's like it didn't.
When they were dancing together, you could see the chemistry.
Oh yeah, I think TK was way too fascinated with Carlos's pecs, and I'm like, same. But it was happening there. It was happening.
Right. And, in this scene, we get, TK's explaining to Carlos what he's learned about Marshawn and the situation she's in, about, Salim. And then he's saying things like, her family lives in Miami, because he was saying that she'd have to go back to Miami. And Carlos had said something like, well, there's teeth here in Texas. Yeah. Maybe he could move here or something like that. and then that's when TK said, well, there's family in, Miami. And he goes, family. Oh, right. No, I get it. That would take a lot to leave them behind. And then TK asked, would you? And then Carlos is like, for the right person, sure.
And that's just kind of like, but also, you're going to eat those words.
And like,
and then literally just then he turns around and he sees his parent, and he's like,
oh no, you've got to be kidding me.
And TK's like, what is it? And he seems so concerned, and I'm like, I think that's like partially their first responder instinct, but also their boyfriend instinct, just coming like, what?
Oh.
And I love how Carlos's mom goes, Carlitos.
People were like,
and I'm like, oh.
People were like, oh, so his name isn't Carlos. I'm like, obviously that's a nickname. Like, it's definitely not his name. Yeah. Like, come on now.
Yeah.
I'm like, you guys.
Yeah, like, no, I don't think that's like an actual name.
Seriously, like, it's a nickname. I'm sorry, but that's just like, I was like, seriously, are we really going there? But like, and then like TK, I felt so bad for TK because he's obviously so excited. He's been dying to meet them, which honestly, I never expected that from him. Like, and stuff. I don't know.
Yeah, I expected him to be like
and he's like so nice to finally meet you, and I'm like, oh boy, this is not gonna go well.
Oh, he's setting it up.
This is not gonna go well. Yep.
Which honestly, like, I kind of wanted to hug him and just feel like he won't mean it. He won't mean it. Like,
and like, so like, Carlos is like saying like, oh, mom, dad, this is my friend TK. I'm like, we work together. I'm like, you did not just say that. Like,
and TK just kind of has a head swivel. Like,
Carlos would have had to either like just eat his words and literally say, this is my boyfriend, or he like this wouldn't have gone well either anyway. Like, there's no other word other than boyfriend that wouldn't have made TK feel worse or feel pissed off. So like, it was gonna be bad either way.
Yeah.
Like avoiding giving a label, period. Like, just saying, oh, this is TK. Like, that, for one thing, that would have made TK feel weird, but he wouldn't have known to stay away from the topic. And as you said, any other label just would have gone wrong. And I'm just like, and like, obviously we hear Carlos's story later and everything, so it makes sense, but at the same time it's like,
I'll talk about it more later, but I feel for them both, like, in every in every sense, like, TK deserves to be as pissed off as he wants to be, because that's like really hurtful, but also like, Carlos isn't a bad guy for like not introducing him as his boyfriend. Like, obviously Carlos is like, we learned a little bit more later, but like, obviously he's going through a lot more than anybody ever anticipated. So like,
honestly, fans were slandering Carlos so much even after the episode, and I'm like, guys, like, heaven forbid you're ever in that situation, but also did you watch the episode? Like, nobody was at fault here. The
people just want somebody to blame.
That it was just rough. Yeah. Carlos, it could have been handled better, but you get it. And TK, even he flew off the handle a little bit, but he was not sorry, but kind of repentant.
Yeah, I mean, and in this instance, he definitely had a right to be pissed, but I'm glad that he kept his cool and didn't like do it in public or in front of
honestly,
his parents.
I was impressed with his restraint.
Because, TK from season 1 might not have been as restrained when dealing with that.
Or even TK's counterpart in 911, Buck. I don't think he was restrained either.
And
I'm just like, that was rough. But
we get Gabriel. We find out that Gabriel's Texas Ranger, which is an elite force of police officers in Texas, and Andrea, which is his mom, and they're kind of like casually talking and thinking TK's a friend. And so I mean, if I was TK, I'd be mad too, but I'm really glad TK was restrained enough to kind of just let it play out, knowing that they weren't going to be there for long.
Yeah. And then Carlos's mom calls him TJ, and I just went, oh. Yeah. And his face, then it's like, oh, okay, that was the final straw.
Yeah, I can just see him walking back to the car, just stock silent, totally like, yep, I'm done.
I think the only thing that gets me about this, and we obviously will talk about this more when the scene rolls around, but Carlos didn't seem to realize he'd done anything wrong. I was just like, oh no. It's always when they don't realize they did something that it turns out worse.
Yeah, what did Carlos say? He said something like, well, that was weird, or well, that was awkward, or something.
Yeah.
And that's when TK glares at him and just kind of storms.
Yeah.
And he's like,
yeah,
what?
So, yeah.
Yeah. A few things.
And I think, and I feel like if I'm just basing it off this first interaction with the parents, Carlos should have talked to TK prior to this about why and what's going on. So then if that ever happened, then TK would at least be aware of that. Like, so some of this conversation should have been had. Like, hey, my parents are very traditional, and if you ever meet them, I'm not sure they're going to be ready to hear that you're my boyfriend. And I think that would have softened the blow.
Honestly, just
they'd had a conversation.
Honestly, even if they just, like, when he'd first, like, seen his parents or something, even if he just, like, whispered, like, I'll explain everything to you later, but I'm, like, this is kind of what's happening. TK would have been confused, but he also would have known there was something more behind that. But I think, as we said last time, Carlos was kind of taken off guard.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Like,
it was unexpected.
It would have helped a lot of things, but also, like, in a sense, I'm like, well, like, I don't think this is as hard for his parents as much of it's hard for Carlos. So I think maybe, like, he just wasn't there yet, and he wasn't ready for that conversation, which is understandable.
I think Carlos is a little more fearful of things, and I don't think he has to be. Like, I don't think his parents are going to react that way.
Yeah.
I feel like it's more of that was his reaction, or his his impression of how they treated him.
Honestly, if they never talked about it since, that kind of thing, you don't know.
Yeah.
Like, you tell them something, and it's great they don't act badly about it, but just to, like, ignore it for the rest of, like, the time afterwards.
Yeah.
That's hurtful, too.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can see him being, like, insecure and, like, not sure where to go from there.
There's, like, no, like, perfect way to deal with something like that. It's very personal, and I don't even want to put myself there because, like, I don't know, and I don't want to pretend to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we get back to Carlos's place. TK is pissed.
And Carlos doesn't get this yet.
Yeah.
Like, he's still... And the switch between this scene and the next Carlos scene is, like, that.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, he's kind of casual in this, but the next one we see him just, like...
break.
Shut down, And I think that's because he got... stewed.
I mean, if this was going to be a fight, I actually, like, this is gonna... Like, this is the fight to be had. Like, it's not, like, over something really petty and dumb. Like, it's actually something that's, like, pretty personal and serious and emotional. And, like, it was a very, like, beautifully, like, done scene. Like, I like how, like, they kind of showed that, like, TK keeps a lot more there than we anticipated. Vitamins.
Yeah, he's grabbing his shoes and vitamins.
He's just grabbing stuff. And I'm like, Carlos, are you just blind? Because I don't think he's processed what's happening yet.
Well, and then, like, Carlos is like, you were quiet the whole way home.
He's like, I thought you were talking to TJ. And I'm like,
I thought you were talking to TJ. And he's like, what? My mom gets people's names wrong all the time.
And I'm like, okay, honestly, that's... about right. I can.
Yeah,
there are a lot of people who get that.
My favorite part of this whole scene, my favorite line, honestly, of the whole episode was like, friend from work. You know, if I was your friend from work, then what we did this morning was very unprofessional. And I'm just like, ooh, do tell.
I can't.
Where is that scene?
Yes, tell. We want to see it.
I mean, honestly.
Yeah, really, where was that scene?
Yeah.
We want to see that.
I would have
wanted that, but also I don't think it would have helped the episode. So honestly, I just like that they threw it in there.
I want to see this in like deleted scenes.
Honestly, like I wish, like I need that, but also like, can you just throw it into like an episode a couple weeks later? Thank you very much. Thanks.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we get Carlos again. He's not quite realizing the situation and what TK's pissed about. So he's like, his little retort is, you know, HR would definitely have a handle on that one.
Better than them working at the same department or under the same station.
Man, I bet that was like a really like hard scene not to laugh in. And I'm like, you can tell.
I mean, Carlos is at least able to smile a little bit. Yeah. I bet Ronan as TK was like really struggling not to laugh.
Ronan's like, I'm very serious. No. Like, I think Rafa was honestly like, that's why he was smiling, because he was laughing about this whole thing. And like, I'm sure they were, but like, that was just like funny, I guess. Like, it wasn't funny, but like, as I watched this more, like, I'm like, this line just like, it's supposed to be very serious, but like I don't take it super seriously, because how can you talk about like what you did that morning and not laugh?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was good that they threw in a couple things to like laugh at, because otherwise I think this scene would have been like unbearably serious.
I've always said as an author, like writing, there's plenty of drama for relationships to have that don't involve breaking up.
Mm-hmm.
And never once did TK say that in that scene.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't say we're done or anything like that.
Yeah.
He just said, you know, I freed up some more space in your closet. You know?
Which is like, okay, he's moving out.
Right.
But I think that's probably what must have thrown Carlos.
Sorry,
was just being,
like not having it.
And then I can get TK's struggles with like, I thought you were out to them. And he's like, well, I am. And he's like, well, that's even worse. And I'm like, okay, that like, must really
the line that really gets it is, let me think. When when Carlos is like explaining that his parents are more traditional, and he's like, I just don't want to rub their noses into it. Oh, and before that when he was like, look, not all of us were raised with parents who couldn't tear the closet doors off fast enough. I was like, true. And then like he says that part, and TK's just like, rub their noses in it. You didn't want to rub their noses in the fact that you have somebody who loves you and that supposedly you love back. I'm like, ooh, did TK?
It's like, okay, we're using the L words. Okay,
he said I love you without saying I love you. I feel like it was just so subtle. I'm like, so are you like not ready for us to have that moment, or what's happening?
I thought that too, and then I also thought, so maybe he really was saying I love you. I'll talk to you later in the previous episode. Maybe it was to Carlos.
Yeah, same.
I still feel like that's to Gwen, but like it is possibly
He's just like
it's a possibility.
I freed more space in your closet, Carlos. Okay, the amount of times he said Carlos in this episode, it was like Carlos. I'm like, damn boy.
When we barely got it the entire last season.
Yeah.
I could once last season.
Well, no, I think we literally just got it once, because I remember Ronan saying that.
No, because we got the juice stand with him saying Carlos there, and then we had the bus scene where he yelled Carlos and about the gas leak. So that's 2 times.
Yeah, and that was only in the very final episode.
Yes, so we got it literally more in one episode.
And then so then like back to like when he storms out, and I'm like, okay, but like then you don't really like whatever, you don't really get time to think about it, and then it's like the next morning. And, like, Owen and Gwen are still talking about defining their relationship. Or more so, Gwen's talking about it. Owen's just kind of there.
Owen's trying,
like, all we really care about in this whole thing is, like, TK, boy.
It's TK.
Owen's just like, here's TK. And he's like, TK. And, oh, my God. this just makes me miss their relationship with just them minus Gwen. Like, what the hell? I need that.
Yeah.
I need that back.
I miss them.
Leave.
I want their scenes.
Please, I just need my boys back.
Yeah. And then they're like, when did you get home? He goes, last night.
He
I
was
thought you were staying at Carlos's.
So
we're in quarantine from each other. I was like, oof.
Oh, poor guy.
Yeah.
That
was
like,
that's definitely in the top 5 for me. And then like Gwen's just like, honey, what happened? He's like, we got in a fight. And Owen's just like, you want to talk about it? And he's like, not really. And he's like, it's not good to keep things bottled up. And I'm like, didn't he say that before? I swear that sounds familiar. And then like TK's just like, we ran into his parents who I've never met and I've been dying to meet them. And he introduced me as his friend. I'm like, oh, TK. Yeah. That's like
and
the
Gwen
perfect
is like,
moment
he
you
did
would
not
want with parents.
Yeah. Like, and then it turns into them arguing, like Gwen and Owen arguing with each other while pretending and trying to give TK advice. And TK knows it. He's just there like, oh boy.
And you could see TK kind of like the tennis match back and forth between the two of them.
And he's just kind of rolling his eyes at this point. I imagine this is hardly the first time he has had this happen.
And then, he kind of picks up his bottle of water and like,
can you imagine?
Just leaves.
Can you imagine if this happened when he came out? Like they start arguing about something like about safety during sex or something, and then he's just watching the tennis match. He's like, okay, bye. I want to see now. Yeah. Let's be honest.
No, yeah.
I can totally picture that happening.
Yeah, like they just make that whole thing about themselves and like, typical.
And the thing is, he doesn't even seem that bothered.
Oh yeah, for sure.
I'm like, yeah, that's happened before. And then the Judd and Owen scene.
I feel like we haven't
that was
good
forever. So it was so nice to get that and stuff.
Yeah, we've had very little one-on-one with a lot of the team. Just kind of small groups or regular team groups. So I liked seeing Judd and Owen because like that's probably the biggest thing we've missed out on.
My favorite line in this scene is when Judd's talking about Grace and he was like, I would walk on fire for Grace to know I love her. She knows I love being married to her, so she knows she's safe. And I was like, oof, that was so perfect. Like their love story is so beautiful. I love it so much. Like obviously Tarlos is number 1, obviously, but like Judd and Grace are a close second.
Oh yeah, but
and I love because Owen's I think mentally struggling with like he's wanting to just have some fun with Gwen and see where things go. She's like, I want a definition, and so he's seeking advice from Judd about what I should do or what and I'm glad that Judd gave him some good advice. Like
at this point though, I was like, oh man, this probably isn't going to end well. And like we know it didn't, but that's when I started feeling sorry for Owen because I'm like, okay, he's putting himself back out there.
Yeah.
And it's like,
I think he just went a little overboard with the whole definition thing. I mean, honestly, but on the other hand, they have been married. They have dated in the past. They have been married in the past. So can you really say they're boyfriend, girlfriend? I mean, they're
I don't know. I don't think there's a label for them.
No, that brings me back to the beginning.
Yeah,
there is one. Owen was like, what if like he was like basically being like, oh, like what we're just like like doing this or whatever and like whatever, and then Grace, Gwen was like, there is a phrase for that. It's called friends with benefits.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
there's so many cases where
the
like
title of
friends
the
with
episode.
benefits came up. So friends with benefits came up first there. Then we hear it at when TK's talking to Gwen and Owen, and like Gwen's like after TK's like, he called me his friend or whatever, and Gwen's just like, oh no, he did it, and she's just like, well, TK Owen's like, well, are you having fun? He's like, yeah. Well, are you seeing other people? And Tika's just like, no. And then Gwen's just like uttering like friends with benefits. No. And I'm just like, came up there. And then like, I think in one scene later, Marshawn and like Paul and Mateo were like talking. And then like Marshawn said something along the lines of like, it's like being like with a friend with no benefits, and I'm just like, ooh, that really came up a lot. Yeah,
I liked it, but I also called it. I knew they'd link it somehow to Carlos.
Yeah,
I'm like, I don't know how because they're like dating, but I knew they'd link it, and I'm like, yes.
Yeah. In this way, it was like friends with benefits question mark. I think is for Carlos was more like, so, like are they or are they not?
They're not, and like they had to throw it in there. And I don't necessarily think every title needs to be like connected to every single person.
Right. But I feel like for a lot of them, it's connected to like some of the main couples or the main characters. So I'm like, okay, it's a fairly safe bet to think that it might apply to, like, it didn't really apply to Mateo or Paul, but it was friends with no benefits
I liked
from
how they
Marshawn,
tied it
and
in. I
that
didn't
kind
like
of
it. Like they did it perfectly. Yeah.
And then the Carlos makeup scene, and oh my gosh. I watched this over and over again before I even saw the episode because I saw it come out. I'm like,
literally after the episode aired, I literally rewatched the scene. I was like, oh my god, this is so great. And I've rewatched it so many times since then. Like, I can't even, I've probably seen this scene more than the whole episode, but I just like, I love it. And like, this, like, the promo, I like, obviously it's so dramatized, but like the way they pulled the promo out, I loved it after watching the episode. And like, so like, just like they're like, just like there's so much emotion and just like feeling and just everything, and like the way things are said.
And so much TK growth, because we know that in the first season he would have been halfway back to New York by now,
right?
Or running to California to escape his problems. No, he has grown up so much, and I'm like, oh, my baby.
Yeah, and I mean, it was so good just to see. And I mean, obviously, Carlos, you know, he goes to Carlos's house, and Carlos is, you know, like, I don't know, ready for bed and just kind of like not happy. And you can see he's sad and not really sure.
His face when he opens the door to TK, though, like, it looked like it was barely holding himself together beforehand, and now, like, he was slowly, like, having the fibers of his last string snapping. Yeah. And I'm like, baby, I wanted to hug him.
And then when TK asked if he could come in, Carlos was like, you have a key.
My whole key thing was like
he
so
was
spot on, because I was like, yes, he has a key, but like if you're in a fight, you're not going to use your key.
Yeah. Right. But like Carlos was like, okay, that means we're breaking up.
Well, no, I think I'm like, okay, not sure what was happening, because like TK's like, yeah, but I thought you might want that back. He's like, why are we breaking up, or did that already happen? Because it felt like that, and I'm like, yeah, because like that just like went from zero.
Let's be honest, it did kind of feel like it, even if TK never said it. And like, I think it would have been more foolish for Carlos to assume they weren't broken up than not, because I don't know.
I didn't think it was a breakup, but like it, like if I was Carlos, I'd be like, well, shit, did that just happen? So like in his shoes, I see that, and I think like my favorite part of this whole thing, or at least one of them, was like TK being like, okay, look, I know I was a little bitch. I was like, TK, what did you do? That was so perfect. I'm just that. Like I think everyone loved it. One of my friends was watching it, and she's like, wait, I loved that. And I'm like, same. And he's like, no, you weren't. And I was just like, yes, I was.
And he's like, yes.
And Carlos's face is like, you're not like, what now?
What?
His face was good.
Excuse me? Like, and he's like,
it's like, I'm not following here.
I'm like, you came all the way here to tell me you're not sorry for being like, a little bitch, which is your words,
like,
not mine.
He's like, I'm not sorry, Carlos. I know I made it seem like your relationship with your parents was about me, but really it's about us. Do you know what I mean? Carlos is like, not really. And then like
he's like,
the whole
not
like,
really.
When you didn't tell your parents that I was your boyfriend, it made me feel insecure about our relationship and what I mean to you. And I was like, "Aww."
I was
He's
like,
talking about
thanks
his
for
feelings,
talking
which we know
about
is
his
very hard.
emotions.
Yeah, and like Carlos is like, and this is when I felt for Carlos pretty much the whole time. I felt for them both. There's no sides.
Yeah,
I hate that.
There was no sides here, and I'm like, guys,
yeah,
stop picking
same.
sides. Sorry, I have an issue with the
Drive
fans
me
at the
nuts
moment.
because it's just like seriously, like you're not unless you're in the same situation. Like, don't be like thinking this, or you can think whatever you want, but like, don't be like, oh, they're a terrible person, blah 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 blah, which is what people were doing. Like, yeah.
Don't be the first to condemn. Seriously, don't even be the last to condemn.
Like,
don't do any of that.
This really gets me. Right. He's like, and that kills me. Which is exactly why I was avoiding introducing you, because I didn't want that to happen, and I knew it would. And I'm like, ooh. And then he like explains, and then he like,
you could tell he was struggling in this,
because TK was like, but they know you're gay, and he's like, well, yeah, I came out to them when I was 17 and they were shocked. I knew it rocked their world, but they hugged me. They told me they loved me, and that was that.
Rafa's story to an extent, because like it's pretty similar, but like I think his story is like slightly different in the way that like he like I don't know how to put that in words, but like how he like I don't think that like his story is exactly the same, but I think they took some parts of it, which I think is really like nice, and it just makes it more like personal, I guess. Right. And like the fact that like I'm happy that they didn't like have it be like Carlos wasn't out to his parents, because I think that would have been really dumb.
Yeah, me too.
I like that they didn't pursue the not out, and they didn't pursue the homophobia aspect of it, because those were what a lot of people were I don't want to say hoping for, but it was what they were promoting, basically.
Yeah.
And I was
like
no, it doesn't
have that happen, but I also like that they're still seeming to like explore that his parents are more traditional, that it has to be do with like his upbringing, his culture, whatever, and that it's like it's not like he's not out, but it's also like he still like has things maybe that he needs to personally work through, and maybe like he needs to work through with his parents, and like the whole thing that TK's like, because like Carlos said how like they basically never discussed like what he mentioned the night before or ever since then. I would assume that this happened like years and years ago.
Yeah. Well, he said he was 17 when he came out to them. I'd imagine it's maybe been 10 years.
Yeah.
So, and like you said, they talked about everything else but. And so since then, the same thing. And, and TK's like, well, they seem like such nice people. And he's like, well, they are nice people. Yeah. They're not perfect.
And I liked how they pursued that. It's like, just that does not make them bad people.
Right.
That just shows they're not perfect. And not perfect also shows I have a feeling a lot of it had to do with they did not know how to handle that. And they didn't know how to give Carlos what he needed, because they didn't know what Carlos needed.
Right, and we don't know, like, we don't know how many siblings he has, if he has siblings. We don't know if he's younger than his siblings, older.
Yeah. Like, we know nothing.
Right.
This is the first we know of his backstory.
We do know, I mean, just in general, it's Catholicism is a very popular religion in Mexican culture and a lot of South American cultures. So, was he raised Catholic? And if that's so, that's where the traditions come from. We don't know. So there's still a lot we need to explore with Carlos's family and why. But I definitely, like you guys were saying earlier about Carlos needing to explore with his parents, he's right. And I'm hoping because of this with TK, this will open up an opportunity to talk to his parents.
Especially because TK now knows. And like he doesn't have to hide it anymore.
Right.
Like the fact that TK was like, you know, my parents may be very queer friendly, but they're not perfect either. They just gave me a pep talk about something that was more about them than me, and I'm like,
That's because it is
literally life.
And Carlos
that's
is like,
literally
that
his
explains
life.
a lot.
And like, he's like, well, there is something
Yeah.
that my mom said. She said I felt triggered because I don't feel safe in the relationship, and Carlos is like, I see. I'm sorry you're about to hear that. And TK's like, no, but yeah, like he thinks
It's
he
like
did something so wrong. But like TK's like, but you know what I didn't consider is how unsafe you feel for so much of your life. I want you to know that I'm fully on board. You can tell your parents I'm your friend, your colleague, your personal shopper. I don't yeah.
I'm like, only TK would come up with the personal shopper, let's be honest.
As long as you need. And Carlos is like, and if it never changes, and TK's like, well, nothing ever stays the same, Carlos. And I'm like, oh,
it's true.
That was such a good line. And that's the growth in TK. I am so proud of TK. And I called it when we were talking about the promo last episode, because I know we were talking about different ideas, and I was like, if TK is a decent guy, he's going to support Carlos wherever he's at with his relationship with his parents, and he's not just going to turn his back on him. And I'm so proud of TK for, you know, being like, I'm going to stand beside you no matter what your parents think or feel, because I love you. And whether he didn't say those specific words, but that's what this conversation is all about.
Yeah, and that's what Carlos needed to hear. And this is the first time, I think the only time we've seen something to even partially equal the vulnerability we've seen this is when he was by TK's bedside.
And like
in episode 8.
And like and like I don't think that this will be like a forever thing. I think like Carlos will have to deal with this like maybe for the season, and then I think eventually like Carlos will want to like introduce TK and he'll be ready, but like the man, like, come on, give him a moment. Like, come on, like unless you've been through this, like seriously. Don't pass your judgment. Like, come on now. Exactly.
Nobody's journeys are the same.
Right.
And his journey, it is no one's business. Like, obviously it's on TV. It's a TV. Obviously it's going to be some people's business, and people are going to like involve themselves in it, but it's also like just give him a hot minute. Nobody goes through the same things the same way, and if this is what he needs to feel secure and safe, then let him have that, because TK's gonna let him have that now that they figure out what the hell they're doing.
And I'm so glad that like TK admitted to him that he didn't feel safe. Like that was why he like was triggered. Because you know, TK at season 1 didn't really talk about that kind of stuff. So he's grown a lot even in that. And you know, Carlos needed to, you know, and I could tell how bad Carlos felt when TK said he didn't feel safe. You know, or not so much safe like with Carlos, it was just the safe of like what he means to Carlos.
Exactly. I don't think anything about this had to do with anything like he was afraid of being hurt physically or anything about what many people would attribute to being safe. No, it was not a worry about that. It was just simply the fear of
it was the fear of the definition of the relationship.
Like, are you safe as his boyfriend, or are you not really?
Or is Carlos seeing him as just a friend with benefits, or is he really seeing him as a boyfriend? Because why did he introduce, you know, so there was a lot of insecurities there. Because is TK's all in for a relationship and calling him his boyfriend, yet Carlos isn't in that spot, and that, you know, so there's that insecurity of like, okay, are we really not on the same page?
There are many ways to not feel safe, and in this one they went with the definition that isn't so common. And I'm like, the only thing that would have made this better was like, I don't know, if one or the other had like kissed their hands, or even if they just had like a very small kiss.
A lot of people are saying that, but like I look at it as would it help the scene? Not very much.
No, it would not have changed anything,
and I think it would have
one last moment,
right?
And then people would still be on a bit about them not
like
having
I kind of think that it would have
honestly
made it look like it was forced in there. Like, I think they were like basically like holding hands and like like giving the support that way. So I think that was like enough for me. And like they were like so emotional, and I don't know. I just feel like it would have been
like that would have been like as I said, it would have been nice, but it didn't make or break the scene.
Yeah.
No.
Because the scene was perfect.
Yeah. It was well written. It was well done. Rafa and Ronan did amazing together.
Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh, those
I think
two.
it ended well. I personally would have loved to see maybe them just even hug.
Yeah, something a little bit more.
Hands
but yeah, that's
is something we don't get much.
Honestly, I think some people are really underestimating what it means to even be in a relationship.
Yes.
It's not about the smooching, the sex. It's not about any of that. We're seeing the nitty-gritty. We're seeing the domesticated Tarlos. Yeah, would I love for there to be more like physical stuff we see?
Yeah.
Of course.
I think
but that's not what a relationship is
like,
about.
The emotional side of the relationship is really what matters more than like like that's way more than important than like
it's more important.
And like safety, that's way more important than like having like physical, in my opinion. So then
but that leads to Marjan going to Salim's hotel room. She looks gorgeous. Let me just say, the girl. Does. Oh my gosh. And she's like, she's going there because she knows it's over, but she.
Oh yeah.
Like she just realized she does really love him, and so she goes. And I was like, I knew it wasn't going to turn out good.
Right.
I'm like, how is it not going to turn out good though? And I wasn't having good feelings about the fact that he liked somebody else and gave her an ultimatum and she's going to go. But they resolved this.
Yeah.
Because like she goes, she tells him she loves him, and then he says like he's going to break it off with, what was it, Madison? He's going to break it off, and like you see the light bulb go up in her head, and she's like, he's switching commitments here. He cannot stay committed to one girl, and she deserves better than that. The girl knows her worth. She does.
Well, and that's what kind of Paul and Mateo were trying to like get her to understand is, does she really love, him? Yeah. Or, and I think she did. It was just the way she kind of portrayed it and explained it was that, in her culture that they kind of learn to love each other over time. So I don't know, I feel like she was not ready for the admitting that.
And I feel like Salim was putting an unnecessary amount of pressure on her. Like, seriously?
To close out the Marjan Celine hotel room scene, like I love that she knows like her worth and that she's not going to just move back home just to like make her parents happy or to like appease him. And like when he said that he like basically had another girl, I was just like, that's disgusting. You're disgusting.
That's so disgusting. Oh my gosh.
Like No. Marjan is worth, any girl is worth way more than that. So like, no.
Yeah. And like, I feel sorry for that poor other girl.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
she's basically
girl, I hope you know what you're getting. Actually, I hope you don't know, because otherwise that would be like even worse. But also, like, I really hope you find out what you're getting.
Yeah. Like she's basically the plan B, and I'm just like, ew.
Right.
Yeah, like plan B, horrible position to put somebody else in, and it's like, ugh. Yeah, so like have fun with your dental Madison.
Dental Madison, I love that.
And like just leave Marjan alone.
So I believe our last scene, I have a lot to say about it. Well, I don't have a lot to say about this, but I also have a lot to say about this.
I have a few very solid like things that
same.
It's like not tons, but very
So like we all know from the promo that Owen like basically proposes to Gwen. So she like comes home from like a run and stuff, and she's just like sees like champagne or whatever and like chocolates, and like he basically proposes, and she's just like she's just like no.
Right.
And I loved that part of
Didn't he say something like he made the mistake of his life by letting her go 15 years ago? Or something like that?
Yeah, something along the lines of that.
oh, I blew the greatest relationship of my life.
Yeah. And, like, that was sweet and all, but, like, no.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even she says no. She's like, that's not what I was looking for.
And she's...
Honestly. Yeah. And then it's like, she's like, well, I'm pregnant. And just the bomb hitting, it's like, what?
Yeah. I was like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah, honestly, I would have preferred them getting engaged over them having another baby.
I would have preferred that, and for the engagement to just crash, because I don't want either. And also, this is the dumbest storyline ever. Yeah. Like, I do not like this. We are not here for this. Like, anybody that likes this, ugh.
Yeah. And the thing again,
throwing shade.
I did not.
It's okay, I've thrown shade at fans the entire episode, so.
I did not see her just blurting it out like that. Like, I didn't see that. But like I said earlier, I had a feeling that she was pregnant when she was eating the ho-hos.
You got that.
But
I was too tired for my day to pick up on these things.
There's so many things wrong with that statement. I mean, like, she's at least 50 years old.
Yeah.
The chances of a woman who's 50 years old having a baby to term is like slim to none.
Yeah.
If she gets pregnant at all.
Yeah. Okay.
And
so, yeah.
And like, as you pointed out during our very interesting group chat conversation, basically his swimmers should be dead from Kibo.
Yeah.
That should be non-existent.
Yeah. That was my other thought. So I'm like, and actually my first thought when that happened was, is she sleeping with somebody else?
Ooh. Oh my god. During quarantine.
I don't feel like they're doing that.
I don't either, but
But also at the same time, it's like,
that'd be scandalous.
I hope they explain how he's not infertile.
Yeah. Okay, so like
that sounds so weird to refer to a guy as being fertile or infertile, but let's be honest. It's same terms.
Yeah. So many things. So like, first of all, I don't want anybody to be pregnant right now, but like, if somebody can be pregnant on the show, like, why not it be Grace and Judd? Like, you know,
I want them to have a baby.
Yes.
And like, that's what the fans were asking for. We never asked for this.
I'm gonna throwing shade.
Let's just throw this out there. We never asked for this.
Me throwing shade at Lone Star. Excuse me, why did you not give us a Grace and Judd baby when you literally teased it in the 10th episode?
Honestly,
you make Gwen, who's been here for 5 seconds, pregnant. What's the actual?
Who's basically not in the age to where she could.
So like
Grace isn't the age. She's like early to mid 30s.
Yeah.
Great time to have a baby.
Yeah.
Like,
So this is what I guess I'll just put this out there. But I think I have a few ideas of how this might go. First of all, I think that I feel as if she could possibly like be in menopause or be going through it right now, but also she just suddenly is one of the rare people that was able to get pregnant randomly. And then
like, it's not unheard of, it's just uncommon.
Yeah, it's like very rare. And then my other thought is just so many things. Like,
honestly, I would be very surprised if the pregnancy goes to term.
That's what I mean.
I have a feeling they're going to lose it.
Yeah.
And I will like be so sad, but also
I'm just gonna go
just because
there.
You know, baby, it's sad to lose a baby, but like I don't know, I don't see how in the world this can work out.
Yeah, I guess,
especially with like she just very empathetically rejected like being together with him.
Yeah,
or at least marrying him. But
yeah,
I'm like, okay, they're both in their 50s. They have a grown son who is not exactly out of the house, because, you know, he's still living there, but he's off doing his own thing.
Yeah, he's fully capable.
Her home is in New York. His is in Austin. It's like,
they have a lot to figure out.
And I really hope they show TK finding out about this.
Yeah.
Because I just want to see him go, I'm sorry, what now?
Yeah. See,
okay.
people are drooling over the fact that TK is gonna be a big brother, and I'm over here like, I literally don't give a crap. Like, just no, this baby can just leave. I am so pessimistic
like,
about this
okay,
whole
let's
situation.
be honest. I'm here for it simply because I want to see Carlos holding a baby.
Yes, me too.
They can hold Grace and Jed's baby. I don't care.
Yep.
They can hold their own baby. No, like
they can adopt a baby for all I care. Like,
I don't want this baby. Okay, like
so
okay.
I have a ton of thoughts on the whole thing, and so my theory is because he's asked Gwen to stay in like last episode or the episode before that, so I feel like this is like her way of sticking around for a little while, but I have a feeling she's gonna end up miscarrying. Yeah, like, same. I don't think they're gonna do an abortion. I don't think that's gonna be the decision. I don't think that they're those kind of people.
Well, it's not even that. It's like, I think it could be a possibility if, like, I don't think they're gonna do it because they don't want the kid. I think it's more so gonna be like an option if the baby were to have like all these things wrong with it, like if it were to have like a severe disability, or if it were this or that. I think that
it would put Gwen's health in jeopardy.
Like,
well, so
medically.
My mom, I have an older sister in heaven. She was stillborn, but my mom knew that there were going to be a lot of problems with her when, like, a few months into the pregnancy, and the doctor, surprisingly, she was Catholic, tried to convince her to have an abortion because, there were going to be things wrong with the baby. My mom quite obviously refused. Yeah. And carried the baby to term. And she's buried. But, like, it is recommended if there's going to be something wrong. Yeah. It is an option. And that's the only thing I could ever see, like, if they consider an abortion, it being. Yeah. And I don't think they get rid of it just because they don't want it.
Yeah. Right. And
I do not see that.
My other thoughts, which can kind of progress through the season, is that she gets pregnant, starts to carry the baby, and God forbid she is in an accident that puts her life in danger, and the baby ends up surviving and she doesn't. Yeah. And maybe. Possibly.
Can we get a Tarless baby then? I'm sorry.
Well, and I was going to say, if leaving Owen with a second child and him not really ready for it, and TK and Carlos stepping up to be like adopting the baby as theirs, which is definitely out there, very far fetched. Yeah, but
I don't see that.
I mean, all the Lone Star, I think they're on drugs, so anything is possible.
Yeah, but like, I'm like, I don't think there's gonna be an abortion just to have an abortion. I don't think they're gonna go that route. I just and then I
don't see them adopting the baby out.
Yeah, I don't either.
Putting that. So either we're going to have a very complicated relationship with Gwen and Owen if there's going to be a baby involved, or she's going to lose the baby. And I'm broke, so I can't put any money on it. But my money is on like the baby being lost.
Yeah. I figure miscarriage is going to be kind of the route they're going to go, which will give a storyline of maybe she goes through, they have the miscarriage, and then she leaves and decides she doesn't want to be there and can't be around him because of that pain.
I definitely.
Or they just kind of fall apart after that because
I know friends
fall
that have
apart
done that
after like a tragic loss like that.
Yeah.
I know somebody who lost a baby, and a month later, her and her husband split up because they just couldn't handle the stress of seeing each other. So
I definitely don't see her sticking around much longer. So I'm kind of, that's why this storyline was so it was a little much, because I'm like, we all know she is not going to stick around forever. So why? Well, this is why I don't think the baby is going, there is going to be either some type of false positive, which I don't really, with the promo I'm not really sure about that, but also it could be other things. But I think there will be, like, she will lose the baby just with, like, the context of certain things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know there was an actress in the mid-90s, Jane Seymour, who had twin boys when she was 50 years old.
Yeah.
So it's possible to have a baby, and they're healthy kids, and to this day, and so
okay,
it is.
When you said Jane Seymour, I thought you were talking about Henry VIII's wife.
Oh, no.
When you originally said that, I was
No.
like, wait, what?
No.
I did not know there's an actress named Jane Seymour.
Yeah. She played Dr. Michaela Quinn in Dr. Quinn, Medicine Woman that I grew up watching.
Okay, so you guys gonna laugh at me now.
No, I'm like...
No, it's okay. And I am going to clarify something. I hadn't looked it up, but so chemotherapy does damage the swimmers. But I did just look it up, and hormone therapies can decrease the production, but not completely destroy.
Okay, that makes sense.
Oh, was he in hormone therapy?
Yeah.
He was doing an immunotherapy, which is, it can affect fertility, but it doesn't necessarily rule it out.
Yeah.
Still, the odds are very far-fetched.
And I think that's why, as we'll talk about
sense.
in the preview, where the doctor's saying, well, you beat the odds, or you're one of the rare cases.
Yeah, so, yeah. But I really like this episode. I think, like, normal episode's probably my favorite. Next to the crossover, probably my second favorite.
Yeah.
And, like...
I think it would be top 5.
Yeah.
Same here.
Crossover is most definitely my favorite. It'd probably rank 3 or 4 for me, just because the Owen and Gwen scenes kind of shoved it a little further down.
Yeah.
But the Tarlos scenes in this one ranks it, like, number 2 after, like, a couple of their scenes in season 1. Like, honestly, it's so beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, and, like, I'm just glad that they didn't say that Carlos wasn't out to his parents, and I like that TK was ultimately going to be there for Carlos, and that they didn't do anything too extreme and stuff. Even if that means that, like, TK isn't, like, necessarily, like, to Carlos's parents, Carlos's boyfriend. Like, I think they'll get there.
Does anyone want to kind of see, like, Carlos struggling to, like, tell his parents, but eventually he does, and his mom just kind of goes, oh yeah, I figured it out.
Yes, please.
Yes, that's what I want. Yeah, I'm like, I want them to be like, yeah, we figured that out when you guys met, or when we met you.
Yeah, I think that's what's gonna happen. I think that'd be super funny, and also, like, just so lovely. I really, I've told a couple people this, but I really want, like, because they mention Aunt Lucy again, and they're like, oh, we'll see you at Tia Lucy's on Sunday, and Carlos is like, yeah, definitely, blah, 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 blah.
I want him to take TK to
That's what I'm saying. People are like, why? Yeah. People are like, why to dinner? And I'm like, well, obviously it's like a traditional thing for like them to have dinner. So like, might as well bring TK to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, come on now. And
it's a communal thing.
Yeah.
It's family communal, and that's
that would be a very big step.
The Mexican culture.
Yeah.
And so it's like, yeah, just seriously, it's not a big deal.
Yeah. That would be a
like, you bring your boyfriend to Thanksgiving to meet the family. That's not that different. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Okay, so I have a question.
Shoot.
Okay, so we know that Ronan teased these 2 scenes. The TK leaving and also the end of it. So which one? The police station and the dinner scene from the first season, or this season?
Wait, which one I like better?
I like... Or just thoughts on either one, like comparisons.
Okay, so I don't know, I like both. I honestly think these do, like, I love both of the, like, I love the dinner scene, I like it, but I also like I don't, some people hate it, I don't hate it, but like the police station scene, I think if we're gonna rank just these 3 together, I think I would rank the police. I don't know, because I really like these scenes a lot, so it's kind of hard for me to say the police station scene's better. And the police station scene almost, in some cases, makes me kind of sad. So I don't know.
Honestly, for me, it would be makeup scene, police station scene, and then like, for number 3, the dinner scene and the, like, fight scene would be about on par. Not because I don't like them less.
Yeah.
Just the other two resonate more.
Yeah.
And also, I don't like fight scenes.
Yeah. And I would agree with you, Grace, on that kind of. I feel like the police station #1, the makeup scene #2, or I mean, I guess they would tie for first place, and then the other two would kind of tie for second or third place.
Yeah. Mine,
because like they're very much within each other's leagues.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just I found the makeup scene just a little bit more because they were like established.
Yeah.
By that point,
same.
Like it was just a tiniest like little centimeter higher than the police station scene.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think mine.
Though I love that scene with all my heart.
Same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think I would go makeup scene, police station scene, the fight scene, then the dinner scene. Just because the dinner scene has, like, the fights in it are, like, kind of a lot more drastic for me. Because, like, in this case, like, Tiki does walk out, but, like, it's more emotional.
But, like, he comes back.
Yeah. And, like, he also says, I love you, out saying I love you in it. So I like that a little more.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
and
that
also,
one...
he wasn't running away from their relationship necessarily. He just needed some space.
Yeah. He just needed...
And Tiki kind of, in the dinner scene, treated Carlos a little unfairly.
Yeah, same. That's how I feel.
Especially since Carlos had no context to know that like, he wasn't ready for this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's about where I'm at.
Yeah,
I definitely say those are like the top four, and then obviously the car scene at the end of
that's my favorite.
Episode 10 is probably my #1 favorite.
Same.
That one.
Yeah.
Everyone, I feel like a lot of people don't say that's their favorite, and I'm like, how? Like everything in that scene just makes me so like happy.
We make
Honestly,
a pretty good team.
Episode 10 has its own little like spot for me because I love the juice stand scene.
Same.
I love before episode 2 started, this scene ranked in my top 3 where Carlos comes to the station. I know it's a little kind of insignificant moment, but I loved it.
That's my favorite.
And then the car scene. Like love those.
Yeah.
So they're on a little ranking all of their own.
Yeah. We'll have to
because
do
I
that
can't choose
episode.
between them and the others, but
I know I could pull up my ranking because I ranked all the Tarlos scenes from season 1. I could literally just go through it. Love that. Yes.
Do we have any listener responses?
Most people's consensus was that like everyone's like, yeah, I loved the episode. It was really great. Like, and that was just basically the common consensus.
Okay,
great.
So that makes it easy.
And then promos for next week, for the episode's difficult decisions.
Yeah, that's like gonna be I feel like that's mostly about like Gwen and Owen, but like
yeah, definitely. I'll be interested to see if there are any others. Yeah. Like, are we going to get another Tarlos thing? Are we going to get a Grace and Judd or Tommy and Charles? What's her name? What's his name?
Yeah.
Yeah, Charles.
Yeah.
See, I looked that up and I don't even remember.
Yeah. We do know we get like the group scene with Marshawn, Paul, Mateo, and Tarlos. But like I don't know. I really want like solo Tarlos scenes, but like I don't know. It's hard to say.
I love the group scenes, but like give me all the solo Tarlos scenes.
Can we get a Tarlos hookup? It's been long enough.
Please, can we just get them waking up in bed together? I mean, that is all I'm asking.
I am just asking.
Okay, I'm asking for a lot, actually, but like overall,
I just need some domestication. Like, just show me them waking up together, and maybe like they like just like a nice kiss,
making breakfast together, like helping each other with their uniforms, or
something.
We don't care.
And I think we'll get some of that throughout the season, and we just won't maybe be previewed for it.
That's fine.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You don't have to put it in the preview.
I don't care if it's in the previews. I just want to know it's going to be there.
Yeah, and I was just thinking about this. Difficult conversations. What's to say it's not Carlos talking to his parents?
I was thinking that.
Yeah.
And I want that.
Do we know?
I would love
I don't
that.
know if we know if they're coming back next week. I do expect them to come back, but I think next week could be a little soon.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And I looked it up. The guy who I didn't even realize it because he had a hat on. So I didn't really realize who played Gabriel Reyes.
Yeah.
But it was the guy who played Tom Denver in How to Get Away with Murder, which, if anybody doesn't know, Raphael loves that series. And
how do you not know?
I've never seen it, but I know the name.
Being like, how do you not know? Like, come on.
And because, Viola Davis is awesome.
Yeah.
And anyways, the guy who played his dad played one of the ADAs, assistant district attorneys, in I think season 3 and 4 of the show. So I was like,
love that connection.
That's why I recognize him.
Yeah.
But so I'm sure Raphael was having a little bit of a moment when they first met.
Oh yeah.
Well, he made a post about can't believe I'm acting with these legends, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
So he must have had a fangirl moment.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And those are really nice photos that he posted.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the promo, we get, they're at the doctor's office, Owen and Gwen, and he's like, you're pregnant, all right? You two really beat the odds, which I think comes from both, the age and also the chemo stuff.
Yeah.
And then he's like, but there's no easy way to say this next part. And then Owen and Gwen are kind of talking, I think, at home maybe, about the risks, substantial risks. And then she's like, are we actually considering this?
They took all the teasing lines and just threw them in there. Obviously that's the promo, but I'm like,
okay.
And then we get the car. So we see a little bit of the start of an accident where it looks like a dad is driving and him and his daughter in a car, and a car in front of them swerves away from this truck, and then they don't see it and they don't stop in time, so they crash into this truck with a bunch of steel beams in it.
Oh, that's what
And those things are heavy, just one of them. So then I can't imagine the amount of steel beams that are actually.
And they're trying. We see Judd and was it Paul?
Yeah.
They're trying to secure the beams, but they can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're taking they have to get her out, the girl out really quick because of obviously they're trying to hold them from falling and crushing the car any more than they already are.
They may have come in at an angle where she was more pinned, or perhaps the dad was killed, because that's also an option.
I think that might be the difficult decision or conversations, I think, is because you could see TK's talking to her and it's like he's trying to calm her down and say, okay, we're going to get you out of here. And it was making me feel like, okay, she's trying to calm her down for a reason.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I think... I don't know. I have suspicions for the next few episodes.
Yeah, same.
And then we see a girl falling out of a window.
Yeah.
So
and
it's like, okay, did you jump? Did you?
Yeah,
what?
that's what I was like. So you just see her falling. So you don't know how it happened. But I'm like, do we have a jumper? Do we have somebody who was pushed out? Did you just do a yoga pose that went wrong, like in episode 3?
If they do that again, I'm going to be recycling much.
No, I don't. No, that's not going to happen.
I doubt they'll do it. But
I think I saw the synopsis was supposed to be Grace and Carlos work together to help a domestic violence situation.
Yeah,
and I think that's where Carlos is bashing in the door. Yeah. Me trying to rescue, and I'm like, I'm in for seeing Carlos working.
Yes,
I want to see more.
Yeah,
we love that.
I would really like it. This just popped to my head, but I would really like to see TK and Carlos working a call together, just them. I don't know. I just need that.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. Or they. Carlos is on scene and they need an extra set of hands to do something, and TK and Carlos have to do something, or, just anything. I would love to see them working together because I think, as TK said in the end of season 1, we make a pretty good team.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, yeah.
You bet they work together good.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh. And so, at some point, though, it looks like... at the very end of the promo, you see what looks like a sheet being lifted over someone's head. So you're like, okay, is that the girl?
Ooh,
is
I
that
didn't
someone
even see
from
that.
the car accident? It's such a tiny glimpse, but I saw it. I'm like, I think they're covering a body.
Yeah.
I think the father of the I think those beams separated them in the car to where she couldn't see her dad. And so when they got the dad out, I think TK was trying to keep her calm, and she's probably wondering where her dad is. And then, like, I think the dad maybe died on impact.
Ooh.
Yeah.
And they haven't told her yet.
I mean, those
they're trying to get her out.
They'll just simply crush your chest in if they hit the right angle.
Those steel beams are no joke.
Yeah. But I am looking forward to the next episode.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, me too.
I'm really curious to see. I feel like the next episode is when we will really know what's happening with Owen and Gwen and the baby and everything. I don't think it's going to be stretched out to a point where we don't know what's happening until the next couple episodes. No, I think it's going to be next.
Yeah, we'll definitely find out next episode, but I think in terms of how long it lasts, I think it could roll over a couple episodes.
Yeah. It'll be interesting, and yeah, they do good work, even if they do weird storylines.
Yeah. I feel like they just have to put these in there to keep people on their toes and just put something weird in there every once in a while.
I gotta hand it to them. Most of their stuff, which I've been seriously, hasn't turned out all that bad.
Yeah.
I've even liked some of them. This one's just one that seems a little bit more outlandish.
Oh yeah, definitely. So I've seen this on shows before, but it's just I don't really want to see this again. Thank you.
Yeah.
It's just a bit much.
Yeah.
But,
all right, so that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, great episode, great things.
Yeah. Yeah, when we got a lot to come, a lot to say about what's to come too.
I know.
Yeah, so much.
Yeah, just the thought of things, I'm just ooh.
Yeah, so the official synopsis is: Judd is shocked at the latest victim of an emergency call. Grace and Carlos must save a woman literally trapped in a domestic abuse situation, and the 126 arrive at a horrific highway crash that threatens the lives of a father and daughter. Meanwhile, Owen and Gwyneth face a difficult decision in their relationship, and Mateo regrets his new tattoo.
Yeah.
So I want to know about the tattoo.
Yeah.
So I think we're going to get some Tarlos.
But that's why he's shirtless.
Yeah.
Because isn't that the one where we see him shirtless?
Yeah.
And I want it.
I really want it to be a drunk tattoo.
Yeah. You know what I want? This is what I was thinking in my head. I really, first of all, I want them to kind of we know that they let Ronan keep the B tattoo, so I really want that to be written into the scene, but I also would love for it to maybe be they lost a bet or whatever, and they go to get tattoos, and TK's well, I've wanted this tattoo, and then Mateo just gets something stupid, and then the rest of the team just bail on getting stuff. That'd be really funny.
Yeah.
I'm here. Just pay me to write that.
Yep.
Oh, we got paid.
We have ideas.
I'd still be broke because I don't meet my deadlines.
Yeah.
Yeah, now we're just forgot about nothing. Yeah, great episode. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. Good one.
Yeah.
As always.
We're excited for more and definitely looking forward to it. Monday can't come soon enough. I'm enjoying that it's on Mondays just because, it starts the week off with, some enjoyment.
Yeah.
Man, I can tell you, Mondays are not easy to wake up
Oh,
on.
yeah. Yeah, for me, especially since Mondays are my work day, now that I get to come home and watch Lone Star at night is just so great. I just love that. The best. I mean, it was great before, but now it's especially great. But anyways, thank you guys so much for joining us and listening. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on Anchor. We're also on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and then almost anywhere where podcasts can be found. On iTunes, please rate us and leave us a review. It'd mean a lot to us. You guys can follow the podcast on our socials at 91LS Roundup on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And you can follow me, Katie, at For Love of Tarlos on Instagram and at For Love of Tarlos on Twitter.
You can follow me, Grace, at RonanRafa911 on Instagram and at SheepGirl31 on Twitter.
You can follow me, EJ, at EJ8302 on Instagram and Twitter.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.